Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing splendid today. My name is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's video is going to be a book chat on a highly anticipated release for this year. It's going to be Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. When I'm talking about most anticipated releases, I will probably try and read every Greek mythology retelling, coming from that being my favorite kind of mythology right now. But I just enjoy the Greek mythology, and this one was centered around a different perspective on Theseus and the kind of Minotaur from the perspective and the eyes of these two sisters, Ariadne and Phaedra. I hope I'm saying that right, but it follows their different perspectives, and I was very interested to kind of learn more about them and just their story. But for a little bit of background about this retelling is following, like I mentioned, two perspectives, which doesn't come in until later on in the kind of book, but it mainly follows Ariadne and Phaedra. I feel like I'm saying that completely wrong, so if I am, please correct me. But it follows their different perspectives as they live on Crete under King Minos, and their kind of journey throughout after the events of kind of Theseus coming to be a sacrifice for the Minotaur, and then from there it just goes on two different paths as the sisters are kind of on different journeys essentially. If you're kind of aware of the retelling, this is basically just a different take on it. I believe this follows kind of like a Greek tragedy, or this is just Jennifer Saint's kind of spin on the tale, and I really enjoyed the spin. It's very different from what I'm kind of used to. Like growing up, like Theseus was kind of put out as this kind of hero, but through this book I can say that my feelings for him have changed because of just the way that Jennifer Saint kind of portrayed him. But after Theseus kind of arrives to be this sacrifice, kind of Ariadne starts to fall in love with him, and from there she has to make a decision as to whether to kind of betray the people of Crete or kind of let her love kind of slip to the Minotaur's hands. And from there, like I mentioned, it's just their journey as they both are kind of set on different paths, and it was just like it's a very heartbreaking story from beginning to end, and it was very good in my opinion. Initially, like I was only expecting to kind of get the perspective of Ariadne, but later on in the story, Phaedra's kind of perspective comes into play as well, and I really just like their journey, like their decisions that they have to make. I'm not going to go into like spoilers or anything, but their decisions are truly heartbreaking. They will pull on your heartstrings for sure. Like just the choices that they're faced with are heartbreaking, but it's got like some good sisterly bonds, as you even know, like at times, like I just can't go into detail because it might spoil things, but just these sisterly bonds that are kind of formed in the beginning kind of are throughout the story, and it was just nice to see those kind of bonds. But through Jennifer Saint's kind of whimsical and flowery writing style, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Aaron Morgenstern's writing in The Starless Sea. It was very similar in some aspects to that, so if you're a fan of that, please check this one out. But through this kind of flowery writing, you definitely feel for the characters, and I just got like a love and beauty for like painted perfectly of the Mediterranean and the temples and the architecture. Like just through this writing style, I was able to just visualize perfectly just the ocean and just kind of be immersed in the story, if that makes sense. The only nitpick I will say about this kind of writing style, it was very brutal at times. Like it touches on animal sacrifices for the gods and stuff like that. So there were scenes where I was just horrified by what was going on, and that made it even kind of more horrifying with just this writing style and how she kind of went in depth with just what was going on. So I was very horrified by it, just like some of these sacrifices and some of the other things that kind of occurred. Like it was just, yeah, it was dark at some points. I had a little bit of knowledge from school on the Greek mythology and from Rick Riordan's books. I got a little bit of that. But then in this, it kind of expanded a little bit more than what I was kind of given. So I enjoyed kind of learning more about kind of like Daedalus, or I can never say his name right. Daedalus, the guy that created the labyrinth, and Icarus. It involved them and their son, and just more kind of stories and the myths that were kind of occurred. Hercules is touched on, Orion, Artemis. It touches on all the gods and how they kind of played a role in ancient Greece, and I really enjoyed learning more about it. And it's not like in a bad way, like an academic way. It was just fit in perfectly with the story to kind of help portray how the gods and goddesses were not the best. Like, and even in like the Rick Riordan books and in this one, like I feel like Hera was one of the worst goddesses ever. Like I don't like in these books, she's just portrayed as just an evil person, and I'm not a big fan of her in general, but like from these books that I've read, she just doesn't. She almost sounds like a witch. But using the two perspectives of the sisters, it really kind of goes into depth of how the gods and goddesses kind of abused women and used them. And I really liked how it kind of touched on how Medusa was really not that evil. Poseidon, if you didn't know, kind of took advantage of her in some ways that I won't go into detail, but he basically took advantage of her, and Athena basically punished her. And from there, like, if you know the story, but like, it was just nice to see that she wasn't painted as this kind of monster, and she was kind of just like forced into what happened to her. Like, it wasn't her choice, and I really enjoyed how she kind of touched on that, and just in general, like the way that the gods and goddesses and just the people of the ancient world kind of treated women. It was nice to see that. Another nitpick, and probably the biggest reason that this wasn't a 5 stars for me, was because during the middle of the book it seemed to be dragging on, and just kind of, I wasn't sure where it was going to go. And that was happened for the majority of the book. But then the last 100 pages hit, and I just could not put the book down. Like, I had to figure out what was going to happen to these sisters. And it was just like, I was turning pages and pages. Like, it was just suspenseful, those last 100 pages. And it really made up for that middle chunk, because going in, like, to that middle point, like, I was worried that I wasn't going to finish it. But then that 100 pages hit, and it was just a breeze through. Like, even though I knew it was a retelling and I had a feeling I knew where I was going to go, but like, I was still like, so like, I was thinking maybe it would be different. And at the end, I was on the verge of tears. That's all I'm going to say for spoiler's sake. It was just heartbreaking at what was occurring. But my overall thoughts, I really enjoyed this book. I gave this 4 stars, and I really look forward to more by Jennifer Saint in the future, because this is a debut novel, and I really want to check out more Greek retellings. I think next one is either going to be Circe or Song of Achilles, so if you have an opinion on which of those to go from here, please let me know, because both of those I've heard great things about and I really want to get to. But that's all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know your thoughts on this book, if you've encountered it or if you plan on kind of encountering it in the future. And if you've got some other kind of retellings that would be interesting that I should check out, please let me know in the comments down below. But I hope you all have a nice day, and I'm going to leave you today with a message from Ellie, who says, adventure is out there. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.